Think back to the last time you had a major change or adversity in your life. What helped you to rebound? What was it like for you? I'm here today to tell you some of the factors that impact your resilience and to give you some life lessons to live by. But first, I need to tell you my story. It was June 13th, 1998. It was a beautiful Saturday afternoon. It was my third wedding anniversary, and Mark and I were celebrating by going to Granville, Ohio, on the bike trail. We're having a wonderful time celebrating our love when suddenly Mark heard what he thought was a gunshot. I heard him from behind as he warned me, "Look over there, something's falling, stop." In an instant, I was crushed by a 7,000-pound tree, entangled with live electric lines, and paralyzed from the waist down. I was life-flighted by helicopter to the Grant Medical Center, where a team of surgeons was ready for me. I remember lying on the operating table. The anesthesiologist had the medication, and he was putting it in a tube in my arm. And he said to me, "Count backwards, soon you will be asleep." I want to admit to you today, what was my last thought? Would this be my last thought? Would I live through this? I woke up on Sunday morning in the intensive care unit in my hospital bed. I was alone. I was hooked up to a lot of tubes that were attached to a lot of pieces of equipment in the room. As I opened my eyes and focused on being there alone, alive, I had a second chance. I lived. And the mind was racing at that point. I'm alive, but I can't move anything from my waist down. I will do anything to recover from this accident and make the best of this bad situation. That was my attitude when I woke up. Very soon, Mark came to my bedside, and of course, I had to ask him, what did the surgeons do? What did they find? Mark was there kneeling down, and he said, "Rosemary, your neck was broken. Your back was broken. They did a spinal fusion, and they put metal rods in your back to stabilize it. Rosemary, you have a spinal cord injury." Hey, those are heavy words to hear on a Sunday morning. I knew this was serious. Sometimes life comes crashing down on you. And we have to understand how to be resilient and to move beyond the change, the adversity. We all have changes in our lives. Think about your life. Was it a relationship breakdown? Was it moving to a new city? Was it a career change and advancement? Was it a financial hardship? Was it a health crisis? Something happens to all of us. It's inevitable. Change happens. But what I'm here to tell you is that we can learn how to be resilient. It's a skill that we can learn. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about. What have I learned after my spinal cord injury that can help you to be resilient? And what were the life lessons that came as a result of my recovery that might be helpful to you now as well as in the future? So let's dive right in. What are the resiliency factors? Number one, have a strong network of supporters. Now I know we have some groups from Cincinnati that are from the Skyline Financial, from MassMutual. This group of colleagues here in this back row, would you be there for each other as group of supporters if something happened to one or more of you? Do you all have colleagues like that at work that would come to your aid and pick up the pieces and hold your hand? Do you have family and friends? Do you have neighbors? Do you have professional counselors that you would go to later to help you with the depression? That's what you need. You need supporters to guide you, to give you advice, to nurture. For me, it was my husband, Mark. He was there all the time, on the trail, comforting me, supporting me, and he has been loving and supportive every day since. My hero. So that's number one, a strong network of supporters. Number two, and it fits into my next lesson, write your goals. Write your goals, keep them in plain view, and work towards those goals. It could be professional, it could be personal. What is it that you want to do? What's your life purpose? What is this vision that you have so that you can move forward? I had many life goals, and then the spinal cord injury hit. I was at the rehabilitation hospital at The Ohio State University for the summer of '98. I had physical therapists and occupational therapists working with me to write my goals so that we could move forward and I could get stronger and independent. Those goals were repeated to me every day. And when I showed up for therapy, getting out of my hospital bed into this wheelchair, into the gym, I would ask them, what are we going to do new today? And that, my friends, is my first lesson to live by. Do something new every day. And that's how I built progress on my goals. And I continued in therapy for 2 more years, 3 days a week with occupational and therapy. That's an easy lesson. What could you do new today? And thinking about tomorrow, what could you do new tomorrow? Looking at your goals, writing them down, and doing something new every day. Okay, that's number one. You've got one lesson and one resilience factor. Let's go to a second resilience factor. What is it that's going to bring you back? What's going to make you bounce back? Being positive? Is that an attitude? Absolutely. Being positive is one of the things that we look at our mindset. And so as we think about being positive, we've got to focus on a hopeful future, not on our self-pity. So, what have you been thinking about? And maybe something needs to be adjusted because you've been having pity parties. Focus on a hopeful future, not on your self-pity. My next lesson to live by. So we've got a network of friends, right? At home or at work or your neighborhood. You've got written goals. Here's the next one. You've got to believe that the impossible is just likely possible. That's the next life lesson. When I was in physical therapy as an inpatient, one day the recreational therapist, Todd, came over to me. And one day Teresa, the physical therapist, came over to me, and they made an impact. Here's what Teresa said. Teresa said, Rosemary, someday you'll be able to do things like you used to do before your injury. Rosemary, you'll be able to bike, you'll be able to kayak, you'll be able to ski, you'll be able to dance, you'll be able to play golf. And I go, I never played golf before. Well, you'll learn how to play golf. Do you know that there is adaptive sports equipment out there? I had no idea. She was giving me hope. Believe the impossible is just likely possible. Do you see what she was telling me? This whole world of adaptive sports, to bring it back into my life. I had no idea. So that was Teresa's comment to me. And then let's go back to Todd, the recreational therapist. One day he said, Rosemary, would you like to go on a field trip and get out of here? Of course. Where are we going? He goes, we're going to a small pond where we can kayak. Okay, I'm in. So I rolled up in my wheelchair in a van, and he drove over to a small pond. I rolled out of the van over to the pond. There was a 2-seat kayak with a bunch of people assembled by the side of the pond. They introduced me to these people. They handed me a life jacket that I put on. And then 2 very strong people lifted me out of my wheelchair and put me in the front seat of this kayak. Another person got in the back seat. They handed me the paddle and showed me how to use it. And we were off, floating on the water. And for the first time, I was kayaking. I was taking back my life. Do you know who those people were? Those people were the Adaptive Sports Connection, a group of dedicated and caring individuals that not only taught me how to kayak, but once I got home, they brought a 3-wheeled bicycle to my home, very similar to that one, and said, let's see if you can bike again. And then in the wintertime, let's meet on the mountain in Bellefontaine. And they put me in a monoski and taught me how to ski again. This organization is the host of today's event. Your contribution and all of you sponsoring this event are providing the financial stability for the Adaptive Sports Connection to continue. I would like to recognize Sharon Busey as the head of the Adaptive Sports Connection for her involvement. And I would also like all of those people who are on staff or who have ever volunteered, if you're able to stand or raise your hand, let's thank you for your service. There they are. You understand the significance of sports and recreation and how it helped me take my life back. It helped me get stronger. It helped me get a goal. It helped me balance my life. It helped me with the signs of depression. When I go out on my bike every day, there's no depression. It is just pure joy. We bought a kayak, and my husband and I kayak on the weekends and go biking in our neighborhood all the time. So adaptive sports are a big part of my life as well as other people's life. So as we look at our lives, we now know that there are things that we can do to be positive. That's one of those lessons in terms of factors for resilience. Be positive. Focus not on your self-pity, but on a hopeful future. Believe the impossible just might be possible. Another life lesson. Having a strong network of supporters, a resiliency factor. Being positive all the time. Doing something new every day. I see some of you are taking notes, some of you are videotaping. I hope there's some takeaways, something that I've said today that resonates with you, a key point, something that triggered your mind to say, oh, that could help me. I want to challenge you in the next 48 hours to be responsible to yourself and come up with what are you going to do as a result of what you heard from me or what you're going to be hearing for the rest of the day. It's not enough to come to an event like this if you don't do something with it. So please take my lessons, take my resiliency factors. One of the things I learned during the COVID pandemic from a business consultant, I don't know if many of you were on different Zoom calls and webinars during the pandemic. I was. Well, I happened to be on one of those webinars, and this guy, Donald Miller, was speaking. And he said something, and I wrote it down right at the time he said it, and I want to share it with you. Be relentlessly optimistic. I wrote that on a little sheet of paper during the webinar, and that little sheet of paper is still on my desk, and I look at it several times a day to help my attitude, when things aren't going quite the way I expected them to. So maybe that phrase from Donald Miller of being relentlessly optimistic will be of use to you. Realize that change is inevitable, but if we embrace resilience, we can face change with a positive attitude that will cause us to see growth and transformation. Thank you.